Hello, and welcome back to the Best Practices Interview Series. My name is Sean Jordan, and I'm part of the Research and Planning Group in St. Louis. This series is about hearing from CEOs and executive directors from Organ Procurement Organizations, or OPOs, across the country. Today, we're going to be hearing from Jan Finn, the president and CEO of Midwest Transplant Network in Kansas City. Now, we've known Jan at RPG for many years, and she's always impressed us for being a powerful yet empathetic communicator. And she and her team have done some fantastic things to grow organ donation and transplantation within their service area. I'm excited to share what she had to say to us. Let's listen. Jan, tell me how you got started in the OPO world and what drew you to this line of work.
It was really kind of an easy transition. I worked in the intensive care unit and I loved taking care of critically ill patients. So if there was an organ donor, I was going to be the one that volunteered to care for that patient. So I was just a natural fit with that, but I got tapped as the donation expert and the one that would go out and talk about organ donation. When I worked at the hospital, I was the director of the ICU, and I think that was just a natural request. So when Midwest Transplant Network, which was Midwest Organ Bank then, 1990, November of 1990, they recruited me to open the first satellite office in Southwest Missouri. And it was a real jump because I loved what I was doing. I loved being in the critical care environment. And I saw this really as a nice transition. And I loved the hospital, and it was really hard, but yet they were very convincing. And so it's turned out to be a really great fit for me.
Well, who are some of the people in the industry whom you've really admired or whom you found inspiring?
So I could name so many people, but the first person that comes to mind is Howard Nathan. And I first really became enamored with Howard, not knowing how progressive they were or all their great things that they were doing, but really about him and who he was and how he spoke at meetings. Of my contemporaries, I'll say, there's a couple others that I really admire, and one is Patty Niles. So Patty and I have been really good friends. We met at our NATCO introductory course in the summer of '91 and became fast friends. So we maintained this friendship over the years, but really, it's the work that she's done that I have been most impressed with. At Southwest Transplant Alliance, she's the one that really has just dramatically changed things there. I feel like she's revolutionary in the fact that the number of organs have dramatically increased, and her leadership skills have really come out there. So she's really shown. Third would be Diane Brockmeyer. She's probably one that you could say is a true leader and didn't have to be in the CEO role. So that's the part I love about it. When you think back to 20 years ago, she was probably in the chief operating officer type role, but was instrumental in seeing that they could build a donor care unit. And that donor care unit has been the model for so many of us. I mean, we're building our own right now. And I just look at what they've done in innovation and quality and known that they won the Malcolm Baldrige Award. So I would say that her leadership through AOPO really also inspires me. And I just truly look to her or look to all three of them if I have a tough thing that I need a second opinion on.
Well, what have you and your team accomplished that you've been the proudest of? And what are some of the things you feel your OPO is doing today that are pushing the organ procurement process forward?
I'm really proud of a couple of things. And one is our DCD authorization rate, also our first person authorization and sticking with that. So I would put our family services team up against anyone in the country. And I know that they have a lot of efforts that they go through to make sure that the DCD donors are given the opportunity those families are. So I think our authorization rates are great. They work closely to improve those all the time. And we look at opportunities to make sure that we are pushing first person, whether it's an organ donor or it's a tissue donor. And those are a little bit more tricky, and it's a different group of people, but kind of the same skill set and mindset. Our quality team is really involved with us, and I think they've spurred us to learn more and to really look at new things and how can we be innovative. We embraced the PDSA model during the collaborative over probably 15 years now that we've been doing that. So I think the excellence that we have accomplished through that, we have not been, I guess, afraid to try new things or to try it and see if it works. So that's our whole philosophy. It's helped us through our clinical excellence too. This year we set a very lofty goal. We're only 5.5 million population, but we wanted to recover and transplant 1,000 organs. And probably didn't pick the right year to do that. 2020 has been a little rough on everyone. We won't make it this year, but we're not going to give up. We're going to keep that pushing out there and keep that goal in mind. So we're constantly working on improvement. How do we get more organs? How do we get more donors? And just improve transplantation for our community Actually, now I guess the nation, where we're sending organs all over.
Well, what have you done to build stronger relationships with your key partners in transplantation, donation, and tissue processing?
So, one of the things that we always hold very dear is that we are relentlessly pleasant. Being pleasant to everyone is always a good thing. My mother taught me that many years ago. But also, we are ones that work on key relationships all the time. It doesn't matter who the partner is, we want to make sure our relationship is really good. So, listening is really important to understand where they're coming from and how we can work best with them. And it is, again, we're all in the life saving business. We're all working towards saving more lives. So, how do we do that collectively? And what's our role? And just being open to new ideas or making sure that we're doing the right thing.
Well, we're going to talk about COVID-19 in just a moment, but I want to ask, aside from
So
COVID,
exciting.
what are the biggest challenges that you feel you and your team will have to overcome over the next several years?
Well, right now, I think we're still learning how to work with the new allocation system. We're challenged, cases are taking longer, they are more costly. We have transplant centers that aren't particularly happy that in our service area, they were very spoiled in the number of organs that we were providing them, and that helped to build our great relationships. So continuing to make sure that we're doing everything for transplantation, but also looking at allocation, how do we improve that? I think the most stressful thing right now for me is our public image. And in organ procurement organizations, we're taking a hit. We're taking a hit as the collective 58 of us, and just making sure that we're telling the right story, that we're getting in front of the right people, and that we're sharing the good things that we're doing. Our results are fantastic. Whether you look at across the country, how we are doing as a nation, and also our own personal results are very good. So I think our goal is to make sure that our community understands and they stand behind us and they stand with us when we ask for or we make a request for organ donation, tissue donation.
As we mentioned, COVID-19 has definitely had an impact on the industry this year and certainly on you all in Kansas City. So what are some of the permanent changes that you feel COVID-19 is going to have on the OPO world?
Probably one that I would never have guessed is that I'm going to be very much open to is remote work. So I worked in a satellite for 8 years, and I knew my work ethic, and I'm a lot older. I'm a baby boomer, so that's just the way we worked. But now I understand that that's across the board. And when we can have efficiencies such as those, I think that will be a change for all of us. Also, this communication that we do now, you don't have to show up at a hospital that's 5 hours away from you to have an interaction and a meaningful interaction. So a lot more video connections. It's allowed me this year to connect with all of my board one-on-one much easier, because in the past I would meet with them, we'd have a lunch or whatever to really talk about their satisfaction levels. And now I can do it over Zoom. So I think just making the rules easier for our staff to participate and also for our board members. And then also we can put messages out to the community that we really never realized we could do so easily before through video.
Jan, what have you been doing for fun lately?
Well, that's kind of a loaded question because there's been a lot of fun at work trying to just adapt to new things. But we have a lake house that's not very far from where we live, and we love to go there. We love boating, being outside, just being with family and friends.
What's the most recent TV show or movie that you've watched that you felt was worth recommending?
I'm not a big TV person, but because of the pandemic, I have been watching Netflix a lot. And my husband and I really enjoyed Outlander. So it's a very different thing. It's historical fiction, but it's also just this long love story. It goes over many seasons, and I think it's been around for a while. But we liked it because there's a little medical twist in it, and also you learn something. But it's a love story.
What's the last book that you read that you felt was worth recommending?
I'm trying to get through the last of a trilogy, and I've been reading this trilogy for all year or longer. And it's called The Book of Life. So that sounds like it could be really something that applies to our work, but it doesn't at all. It's about witches and vampires. However, it really is a mystery. So you're trying to figure out what's going to happen. There's time travel again, just like in Outlander, but that's not really my thing. But there's also a little medical twist. But I love reading about it and kind of picturing where they are and what's going on in their lives, because they're all over the world and in different centuries. And I would recommend it, but you have to really commit to it because it's like 2,000 pages.
Oh. All right, well, let's say that your team has a karaoke party and they beg you to get up and sing. What song are you going to pick?
really hard because I hate karaoke. I despise it. I'd have to really want to do it and want to be part of the team. Something that I would know the words to and I think has a lot of great lines is Uptown Funk.
Well, let's fast forward to the future for a moment. So think like an action movie here. You've retired, you're out of the game, and your team is getting together and they're like, we just need Jan for one more donation case. Where do you think they're going to go to find you to recruit you for just one more donation case?
They're going to find me by the water, somewhere by the water. I'll either be at the lake or I will be in Seaside, Florida.
Jan, it's been a real pleasure to talk with you today. And I just have one final question for you. What advice would you give to others in your industry who are hoping to lead an OPO one day?
You know, I never imagined I would be in this role. So it's pretty easy for me to give advice about what worked for me. And I've always told people when they ask me, how do I do this? Or I want your job, play your position. I think that's the easiest thing. Whatever your role is, do your very best at that and make sure that you're really not working to get noticed. You be noticed if you're doing the right things. And thinking about how you can be a contributor, asking, is there something you can do to improve? Or how do you learn? How do you grow? Are you meeting the needs of your leaders? And I think that that's a great thing that has helped me in the past. I would also say to be involved and to be aware of what's going on, and to really understand what that picture is and to build strong relationships because you really never know. Maybe you'll be the CEO of a OPO far out of your comfort zone, so to speak. But I think it's just really to do your very best in the job that you have.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed this best practices interview. And I just wanted to let you know we've got so much more to share with you at bestpractices.researchplan.com. You can also email me anytime at sean.jordan@researchplan.com. Thanks. We'll see you next time.